She thought she'd escaped her nightmare when she fled to Seoul. But at a glittering charity gala, standing frozen in her red dress, she saw him, her abusive ex-fiancé, staring at her through the crowd with that possessive smile she knew too well. Before she could run, a hand gripped her waist. A voice, cold and commanding, whispered in her ear, "From now on, pretend you're my wife." The Korean Mafia boss standing beside her wore a tuxedo-like armor and eyes that had seen too much death. She didn't know his name, she didn't know his world, but in that moment, between the monster from her past and the dangerous stranger offering protection, she had to choose. While I tell you this story, one that will make you feel many emotions, click the subscribe button. It's the only way to support us, and thank you. Maya Harrison had been living in Seoul for 8 months, and still, she checked over her shoulder every time she left her studio apartment. The tiny one-room in Mapo-gu was all she could afford on her English teacher's salary. At night, she'd lie awake listening to the sounds of the city, wondering if every footstep in the hallway belonged to him, Ethan Miller, her ex-fiancé, the man who'd promised her forever, then slowly isolated her from friends, tracked her phone, showed up unannounced at her work, the man whose love felt like a cage tightening around her ribs until she couldn't breathe. She'd fled New York 6 months after breaking their engagement, changed her number, deleted social media, chose South Korea because it felt impossibly far from Connecticut and his family's influence. But fear was a companion that crossed oceans. Tonight, she'd made a mistake. Her colleague Jennifer had convinced her to attend the Miri Foundation charity gala as a +1. "You can't hide forever," Jennifer had said. "You need to live again." So Maya had borrowed a red satin slip dress, applied lipstick with shaking hands, and stepped into the glittering ballroom of the Grand Hyatt Seoul. Crystal chandeliers cast diamonds of light across marble floors. Women in designer gowns laughed behind champagne flutes. Men in tuxedos discussed business deals worth more than Maya would earn in a lifetime. She felt like an imposter. For an hour, she smiled politely, sipped sparkling water, and tried to convince herself she belonged here, that she was safe, that Seoul's distance had finally given her peace. Then she saw him. Ethan Miller stood near the bar, scanning the crowd with methodical precision. Maya's champagne flute slipped from her fingers, shattering against the floor. The sound drew his attention. Their eyes met across the ballroom, his face transformed, surprise melting into that possessive smile she'd seen in nightmares. He started moving toward her. Maya backed away, heart hammering. How? How had he found her? She'd been so careful. No forwarding address, no contact with mutual friends. She'd built a new life from nothing, and still, there you are. The voice came from behind her. Deep, authoritative, speaking English with a slight Korean accent. Before Maya could turn, an arm wrapped around her waist, pulling her against a solid chest. She tensed, instinct screaming danger. But then the voice lowered to a whisper meant only for her. That man, the one staring at you like he owns you. He's your problem, isn't he? Maya's breath caught. The stranger holding her shifted, positioning himself between Maya and Ethan's approaching figure. She caught a glimpse of his profile. Sharp jawline, dark eyes that missed nothing, black hair styled with careless precision. "From now on," he murmured, his grip tightening possessively, "pretend you're my wife. Don't speak unless I tell you to. Don't leave my side. Do you understand?" Maya should have pulled away, should have run, should have done anything except nod. But Ethan was 20 feet away and closing, and this stranger's presence felt like standing behind a bulletproof wall. "Good girl," the man said softly. Then Ethan arrived, his smile strained. "Maya, what a coincidence." "There are no coincidences," the stranger replied in flawless English, his tone conversational but laced with warning. "Only intentions, and you're making your intentions very clear, approaching my wife without introduction." Ethan's expression flickered. "Your wife?" "Newly married." The stranger's hand moved to Maya's left hand, his thumb brushing her ring finger. 3 months now. We've been keeping it private. You understand?" Maya felt Ethan's gaze burning into her face. She couldn't meet his eyes, couldn't breathe. "Maya," Ethan said slowly, "you didn't mention you were seeing anyone. Why would she mention anything to you?" The stranger asked. "Who are you to my wife?" The question hung in the air like a blade. Ethan's jaw clenched. An old friend. Friends don't track down friends in foreign countries and corner them at charity galas. The stranger's voice dropped several degrees. They don't make women drop champagne glasses in fear. So let me be clear. My wife doesn't want to see you. Leave this venue, leave Seoul, and forget she exists. The surrounding conversations had quieted. People were watching. Ethan's face flushed red. This is none of your business. Everything about her is my business now. The stranger smiled, but there was nothing friendly in it. I'm Kang Ji-won. Perhaps you've heard of me? Something shifted in Ethan's expression. Recognition, then fear. He took a step back. I didn't realize. Now you do. Ji-won's arm tightened around Maya. Goodbye, Mr. Miller. Ethan stared at Maya one more time, a look filled with rage and disbelief, then turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Maya's legs nearly gave out. Ji-won held her upright effortlessly. Not here, he murmured. Walk with me. Smile. Let everyone see that you're exactly where you want to be. She didn't understand what was happening, didn't know who this man was or why he'd intervened. But she walked. Ji-won led her through the ballroom with the confidence of someone who owned every space he entered. People parted for them. Some nodded respectfully. Others averted their eyes. Maya's mind raced. Kang Ji-won. The name had made Ethan retreat like he'd been burned. Who was this man? They exited onto a private balcony overlooking the glittering lights of Seoul. The November air was cold against Maya's bare shoulders. Ji-won released her waist but positioned himself between her and the door, trapping her, protecting her. She couldn't tell which. Your ex-fiancé, he said, not asking. Ethan Miller. Wealthy family from Connecticut. Father's a federal judge. He's been in Seoul for 3 days, staying at the Signal. Hired a private investigator to find you 2 weeks ago. Maya's stomach dropped. How do you... I know everything that happens in this city that matters. Ji-won studied her with unsettling intensity, including when an American man with controlling tendencies starts asking questions about a blonde English teacher who matches a very specific description. You've been watching me? I've been aware of you. There's a difference. He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and handed it to her. These are the photos he's been collecting. Maya's hands trembled as she scrolled through the images, herself leaving her apartment, teaching at the academy, buying groceries at the corner store, all taken from a distance, all invasive. She tasted bile. He won't stop, Ji-won said quietly. Men like him never do. They see women as possessions. And when possessions try to escape, why do you care? Maya looked up at him, fear mixing with suspicion. Why would you help me? Something flickered across Ji-won's face, too fast to read. Because I recognize the look in your eyes. Because I know what it's like to live afraid that someone you love will be taken from you. His jaw tightened. And because I have the power to make him disappear from your life completely, if you let me. I don't even know you. You know I scared him with just my name. You know he left without another word. Ji-won stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. You know that I'm your best chance at real safety. Maya's instincts screamed at her to run. This man was dangerous, possibly more dangerous than Ethan. But Ethan was a known nightmare. And this stranger had just given her the first moment of relief she'd felt in months. What do you want in return? She asked. Men like you don't help for free. Men like me. Ji-won's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. You think I'm a criminal? I think Ethan recognized your name and looked terrified. I think people in that ballroom treat you like you're royalty or a bomb that might explode. I think... She swallowed hard. I think you're someone I should be afraid of, too. Smart girl. He reached out slowly, giving her time to flinch away. When she didn't, he tucked a strand of blonde hair behind her ear with surprising gentleness. Yes, you should be afraid of me, but not the way you're afraid of him. I don't take what isn't offered. I don't hurt what I protect, and I don't break my promises. What do you want? Maya asked again. Ji-won was silent for a long moment, his dark eyes searching hers. I want you to trust me long enough to let me solve your Ethan problem. I want you to stay close to me for the next few days, while I make sure he leaves Korea and never comes back. And I want... He paused. I want to be the reason someone doesn't end up dead because I failed to act. There was pain in those words. Old pain, carefully hidden. What happened to you? Maya whispered. The same thing that happened to you. Someone I loved was taken by someone who thought they owned her. His voice went cold. But unlike you, she didn't survive to escape. Maya's heart clenched. So, Jiwon said, stepping back and offering his hand like a formal contract, for the next 72 hours, you're my wife. You stay in my home, under my protection, and you let me handle Ethan Miller. After 3 days, if you want to walk away and never see me again, you can. I won't stop you. But during those 3 days, you follow my rules, you trust my judgment, and you let me keep you safe. It was insane. Completely insane. But Maya looked at his outstretched hand and thought about Ethan's photos, about 8 months of looking over her shoulder, about the fear that had become her constant companion. She thought about the way Jiwon had stepped between them without hesitation, the way he'd spoken to Ethan with casual dominance that left no room for argument. She thought about his sister, the one who hadn't survived. Maya placed her hand in his. 3 days, she agreed. Jiwon's fingers closed around hers, warm and strong. 3 days, he confirmed. Then you're free. But as he led her off the balcony toward a private exit where a black car waited, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that freedom and safety with Kang Jiwon might be two very different things. Jiwon's home wasn't what Maya expected. She'd imagined something cold, all glass and steel, a fortress designed to intimidate. Instead, the penthouse in Cheongdam-dong was surprisingly warm. Modern, yes, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Han River, but also filled with books, comfortable furniture, plants that someone actually cared for. The guest room is down the hall, Jiwon said, shrugging off his tuxedo jacket. Bathroom attached? My room is on the opposite side. You won't be disturbed. Maya stood awkwardly in the living room, still in her red dress, clutching the small purse that contained her phone and exactly one emergency credit card. I don't have clothes, or anything. I'll have someone bring items tomorrow morning. For tonight, he disappeared into a room and returned with a black t-shirt and sweatpants. These will be too large, but they're clean. She took them carefully, avoiding his fingers. Thank you. Jiwon studied her for a moment. You're safe here, Maya. I have security throughout the building. Ethan can't reach you. And I'm safe from you. Always. His voice was firm. I don't touch women without permission. I don't force anything. You're under my protection, not my control. Understand the difference. Maya nodded slowly, not entirely convinced, but too exhausted to argue. She changed in the guest room, the oversized clothes smelling faintly of expensive detergent and something masculine. Cedar, maybe. When she emerged, Jiwon had changed into casual clothes and was in the kitchen, heating something on the stove. You haven't eaten, he said without looking up. I'm not hungry. Your body is running on adrenaline. When it crashes, you'll need food. He ladled soup into a bowl, something with beef and vegetables that smelled incredible. Sit. It wasn't a request. Maya perched on a bar stool, watching him warily. Why are you doing this? Making soup. All of it. Jiwon placed the bowl in front of her along with a spoon and chopsticks. Eat first, questions after. I don't take orders well. I've noticed. There was almost amusement in his tone. But you're shaking, and your lips are pale, and you look like you might faint, so eat. Consider it my first rule as your temporary husband. The absurdity of the situation hit her suddenly. She was wearing a Mafia boss's clothes, eating his soup, in his penthouse, pretending to be his wife to escape her stalker ex-fiancé. Maya started laughing, a slightly hysterical sound she couldn't control. Jiwon watched her with an expression she couldn't read. Better? I think I'm losing my mind. You're not. You're safe. There's a difference. He leaned against the counter, crossing his arms. My sister's name was Soo-yeon. She was 23 when she died. Beautiful, smart, stubborn as hell. She wanted to be a violinist. Maya's laughter died. She picked up the spoon. She fell in love with a man from a rival organization. I told her to stay away from him, that he was dangerous, that his family would never accept her. Jiwon's voice was carefully neutral. She thought love would be enough, that she could change him. What happened? His family saw her as leverage. When negotiations between our organizations broke down, They killed her to send a message to my father. His jaw tightened. I was the one who found her body. Maya's appetite vanished, but she forced herself to eat anyway, giving him time, respecting his pain. I was supposed to protect her, Jiwon continued. That was my job, my responsibility. And I failed. He looked directly at Maya. So when I see a woman being stalked by a man who thinks he owns her, I don't walk away. I can't. I'm not your sister. No, you're not. He pushed off the counter. But you're someone who deserves to live without fear. And I have the power to make that happen, so I will. What kind of business are you in exactly? Maya asked. The kind that makes ex-fiancés run away scared? The kind that operates in gray spaces. Jiwon's smile was sharp. I own legitimate businesses. Restaurants, clubs, real estate. But my family also controls certain territories in Seoul. We handle problems that the police can't or won't touch. We maintain order in places where official law doesn't reach. You're in the Mafia. That's a Western term. We prefer to think of ourselves as peacekeepers. His tone was dry. But yes, I'm part of an organization that most people only whisper about. Maya should have been terrified, should have demanded to leave immediately. But instead, she felt oddly calm, because Jiwon had been nothing but honest with her, because he'd given her choice, because his presence felt like standing in the eye of a storm. Dangerous, yes, but paradoxically safe. 3 days, she said quietly. 3 days, he agreed. That night, Maya lay in the guest bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of an unfamiliar home. She heard Jiwon moving around occasionally, the quiet pad of footsteps, water running, the soft close of a door. She thought about Ethan's face when he recognized Jiwon's name, about 8 months of fear, about the photos on Jiwon's phone, and she thought about how, for the first time since fleeing New York, she'd fallen asleep without checking the locks 3 times. In the morning, she woke to the smell of coffee and voices speaking rapid Korean in the living room. Maya emerged cautiously to find Jiwon in a business suit, speaking with 2 men in black. On the dining table were several shopping bags. Clothes, Jiwon said, noticing her. Basics. My assistant guessed your sizes. The men left without acknowledging Maya's presence. She approached the table slowly. You have people who just bring clothes. I have people who handle whatever needs handling. He poured her a cup of coffee without asking. Ethan checked out of his hotel this morning. He's currently at Incheon Airport, waiting for a flight back to Los Angeles. Maya's breath caught. That fast? I had a conversation with him last night. Explained very clearly what would happen if he remained in Korea or ever attempted to contact you again. Jiwon's expression was pleasant, but his eyes were cold. He understood. What did you say to him? Nothing I'll repeat to you, but he won't be a problem anymore. Maya set down her coffee cup with shaking hands. Just like that. Just like that. And what do you want from me now? Jiwon stepped closer, studying her face with that unsettling intensity. I want you to take 3 days to breathe, to sleep without fear, to remember what it feels like to be safe. His voice softened. That's all. It couldn't be that simple. Men like him didn't help without expecting something in return. But as Maya looked into his dark eyes, she saw only truth. And maybe, she thought, something else. Something like recognition. Like he saw in her the same fractured pieces he carried inside himself. Okay, she whispered. Jiwon nodded once, then stepped back. I have business today. Minho will be outside if you need anything. Don't leave the apartment. Don't open the door for anyone except me. Yes, boss, Maya said with faint sarcasm. His lips twitched. I like you, Maya Harrison. You're braver than you think. Then he left, and Maya was alone in the penthouse of a Korean mafia boss, wearing clothes he'd bought her, drinking coffee he'd made. And for the first time in 8 months, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she might actually survive this. The peace lasted exactly 36 hours. Maya spent the first day exploring Jiwon's penthouse like a nervous cat, cataloging exits and safe spaces out of habit. She read books from his extensive library, taught herself to use his espresso machine, and stared out the windows at Seoul stretching endlessly below. Jiwon returned in the evening with takeout from a restaurant that probably required reservations months in advance. They ate in comfortable silence. Then he disappeared into his home office to make calls in rapid Korean, while Maya pretended not to notice the tension in his voice. The second day, she woke to find him already gone and a note on the kitchen counter. Had to leave early. Minho is outside. Back tonight. Maya felt strangely disappointed. She occupied herself with researching cafes in Seoul, bookmarking articles about starting small businesses, letting herself dream about the future for the first time in months. Around 2 in the afternoon, her phone rang. Unknown number. Seoul area code. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Maya Harrison. A woman's voice. American accent. Professional. Who is this? My name is Jennifer Walsh. I'm with the U.S. Embassy in Seoul. I need to speak with you about a serious matter concerning Ethan Miller. Maya's blood went cold. What about him? He filed a missing persons report yesterday, claiming you've been kidnapped by a dangerous criminal organization. He's insisting we conduct a welfare check. I need you to confirm your status and location. The room tilted. I'm not missing. I'm not kidnapped. I left him voluntarily and... Can you tell me where you are right now? Maya hesitated. Something felt wrong. Why are you asking me this? Because Mr. Miller has provided evidence that you're being held against your will by Kang Jaewon, a known organized crime figure. If that's true, we can help you. I'm not being held against my will. Then you can come to the embassy and make a statement. Today, I can send a car to pick you up from wherever you are. The pressure in the woman's voice increased. Subtle but insistent. I need to think about it, Maya said. Ms. Harrison. Maya hung up. Her hands were shaking. She stared at the phone, mind racing. Ethan wasn't gone. He'd just changed tactics. Before she could process further, the apartment door burst open. Jiwon strode in, his expression darker than Maya had ever seen. 2 of his men followed, speaking urgently in Korean. Pack your things, Jiwon ordered. We're leaving? Now, what's happening? Ethan didn't leave Korea. He went to the U.S. Embassy and convinced them you've been kidnapped. They're sending federal agents to this address within the hour. Maya's stomach dropped. Someone just called me. Claimed to be from the embassy. Jiwon's jaw tightened. What did you tell them? Nothing. I hung up. But... She swallowed hard. They're really coming here. Ethan's father is a federal judge with connections. He's using every resource to get you back under his son's control. Jiwon was already pulling a bag from the closet, throwing items into it. If the embassy gets involved, this becomes an international incident. I can't protect you through diplomatic channels. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. He grabbed her arm, not roughly, but urgently. Maya, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? She looked at his face, saw the determination there, the fear he was trying to hide. He was protecting her, against the U.S. government, against everything. Yes, she said. They moved fast. Within 10 minutes, Maya was in the back of a black SUV with tinted windows, Jiwon beside her, 2 vehicles flanking them as they sped through Seoul's afternoon traffic. Where are we going? Maya asked again. A safe house in Gangwon province. 3 hours from Seoul, off the grid. Jiwon was texting rapidly. My people are scrubbing your digital footprint. Bank records, phone location data, surveillance footage from my building. We're making you a ghost. This is insane. This is Ethan Miller refusing to let you go. Jiwon looked at her, his eyes intense. He'll stop at nothing. Men like him never do. They can't accept losing control. Maya felt tears burning behind her eyes. I just wanted to be free. You will be. Jiwon's hand found hers, squeezing gently. I promise you that. But first, we have to disappear for a while. An hour into the drive, Jiwon's phone rang. He answered in Korean, his expression growing progressively darker. The conversation was tense, his voice sharp with authority and something like fear. When he hung up, he was silent for a long moment. What? Maya demanded. Ethan Miller hired a private military contractor, former special forces. He arrived in Seoul this morning with a team of 4 men. Jiwon's voice was carefully controlled. They've been asking questions in Gangnam, showing your photo, offering money for information. He's going to find us. No. Jiwon's hand tightened around hers. He's not, because we're going to handle this differently. How? By giving him what he wants. Maya stared at him. What? Jiwon turned to face her fully, his expression fierce. And we're going to let him think he's found you. We're going to draw him out. And then, his voice went deadly cold. We're going to end this permanently, without killing him, without giving him ammunition to claim victimhood. We're going to destroy his credibility completely so he never threatens you again. How? By exposing every single illegal thing he's ever done, every bribe his father accepted, every woman he's stalked before you, every law he's broken. Jiwon smiled, but there was no warmth in it. My organization specializes in information, Maya, and I'm very, very good at destroying people who hurt what's mine. I'm not yours. For 3 days, you are. His eyes held hers. And I don't let anyone hurt what's mine. The safe house was a traditional Korean hanok nestled in mountains, surrounded by trees turned golden with autumn, beautiful and isolated. That night, as Maya lay in another unfamiliar bed, she heard Jiwon on the phone speaking in low, urgent Korean for hours. She thought about Ethan, about contractors with military training, about the UAS, embassy, and federal judges, and how far a powerful family would go to reclaim what they considered their property. She thought about Jiwon's promise, about his sister, about the pain in his eyes when he spoke about failing to protect someone he loved. And she realized with startling clarity, she trusted him. This dangerous man who controlled criminal territories and made people disappear with a phone call. She trusted him more than she'd ever trusted Ethan. The realization should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like the first true thing she'd known in years. You want me to do what? Maya stared at Jiwon across the small table in the hanok's kitchen, certain she'd misheard. I want you to go back to Seoul, Jiwon repeated calmly. To a location we control. We'll let Ethan's contractors find you there. They'll try to extract you. That's insane. It's bait. Jiwon spread photographs across the table, surveillance images of 4 men in tactical gear. These are professionals. Former military. They're good at what they do. But they're not invincible. And they're operating in my city without understanding the landscape. Maya's hands trembled as she picked up one of the photos. They'll take me back to Ethan. They'll try, but you won't be alone. Jiwon tapped another photo, a warehouse in what looked like an industrial district. This location is owned by one of my shell corporations. Every entrance monitored. Every exit controlled. I'll have 20 men positioned around the perimeter. The moment they try to move you, we intervene. And if something goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. You can't promise that. No. Jiwon's voice softened. But I can promise that I'll die before I let them take you. Does that count? Maya looked at him. Really looked at him. In the 3 days since the gala, she'd seen different versions of Kang Jiwon. The dangerous Mafia boss who'd made Ethan flee, the surprisingly gentle man who'd made her soup and bought her clothes, the protective figure who'd moved her to a safe house and sat up all night planning. But this was something new. This was vulnerability. Real, raw fear barely concealed beneath strategic planning. Why are you doing this? Maya asked. You could just make me disappear, give me a new identity, new passport, ship me to another country. Why risk yourself? Jiwon was silent for a long moment. Because running isn't living. Because you deserve more than hiding for the rest of your life. Because... He stopped, jaw tightening. Because of your sister. Because I couldn't save her. The words came out rough, like they hurt to say. Sooyeon spent her last months terrified, looking over her shoulder, knowing they were going to kill her and being powerless to stop it. I was too arrogant, too convinced that my family's power would protect her. By the time I realized the danger, it was too late. He looked at Maya with eyes that held years of guilt. I found her in an abandoned building in Incheon. They'd tortured her for information about my father's operations. She'd told them nothing. Died protecting us. His voice cracked. She was 23 years old and she died scared and alone because I failed her. Maya felt tears on her cheeks. Jiwon? So when I tell you that I'll die before I let them take you, I mean it, because I've lived 5 years with the weight of failing to protect someone I loved. I won't... He stopped, breathing hard. I can't do it again. Maya reached across the table, taking his hand. His fingers were cold. I'm not her, Maya said softly. And this isn't your chance to save her. You can't undo what happened. I know. But you can help me. She squeezed his hand. You can help me stop being afraid, stop running, stop letting Ethan Miller control my life even from thousands of miles away. Jiwon's eyes met hers, dark and intense. So I'll do it, Maya continued. I'll be your bait. I'll trust your plan. But you have to promise me something. Anything. Promise me this is the end, that after this, Ethan can't hurt me anymore, that I can actually start living instead of surviving. I promise. Jiwon's voice was firm. After this, you're free. They spent the next day preparing. Jiwon's men brought equipment, a small tracking device sewn into the lining of Maya's jacket, a panic button disguised as a pendant, wire-thin cameras embedded in the warehouse walls. Jiwon went over the plan obsessively. You'll be in the warehouse for approximately 20 minutes. The contractors will approach, likely posing as embassy officials or police. They'll try to convince you to leave voluntarily. If you refuse, they'll use force. The moment they touch you, my team moves in. What if they have guns? They will, but they won't use them unless absolutely necessary. They're trying to extract you quietly, not start a war in the middle of Seoul. Jiwon's jaw tightened. And if they do shoot, I have body armor positioned throughout the space. You'll be protected. Maya tried to match his confidence. Failed. The night before the operation, she couldn't sleep. She found Jiwon on the Hanuk's veranda, smoking a cigarette and staring out at the dark mountains. I didn't know you smoked, Maya said. Only when I'm stressed. He offered the cigarette. Want some? I quit 3 years ago. Smart. He took another drag, then stubbed it out. You should be sleeping. So should you. Jiwon smiled faintly. I don't sleep much. Haven't since Suyeon died. Too many ghosts. Maya sat beside him, shoulders touching. The night air was cold, but his presence was warm. Tell me about her, Maya said. Not how she died, how she lived. Jiwon was quiet for a moment. Then, she laughed constantly. At everything. Bad jokes, terrible movies, my attempts to be intimidating. She'd call me Appa in this sweet voice, then immediately mock my expensive suits. His voice softened with memory. She wanted to study in Vienna, become a world-class violinist. She practiced 4 hours every day, sometimes more. Drove our parents crazy with the repetition. She sounds wonderful. She was the best of us. Jiwon turned to look at Maya. You remind me of her sometimes. Not in appearance, but in strength. She was terrified those last weeks, but she kept living anyway, kept practicing her violin, kept making jokes, kept believing things would be okay. They weren't okay. No. But she was brave until the end. His hand found Maya's in the darkness. Like you're being brave now? I don't feel brave. I feel terrified. That's what bravery is. Doing the thing that scares you because it's necessary. Jiwon's thumb traced circles on her palm. Tomorrow, you're going to walk into a warehouse as bait for hired killers. That's the definition of courage. Maya laughed shakily. Or stupidity. I prefer courage. They sat in silence for a while, hands linked, watching the stars. Jiwon, Maya said quietly, what happens after tomorrow, after Ethan's gone and the 3 days are up? You get your life back, your cafe, your freedom, everything you wanted. And you? He was silent for too long. I go back to my world. You go back to yours. That was the agreement. What if I don't want to? Jiwon's grip on her hand tightened. Maya. What if I want to know the man who makes soup and buys clothes and stays up all night protecting strangers? What if 3 days isn't enough? I'm not a good man. His voice was rough. I've done terrible things. I'll do more terrible things. My world is dangerous and dark and you're the kindest person I've met in years. Maya turned to face him. You saved me without asking for anything. You've given me more safety in 3 days than I had in 2 years with Ethan. You've shared your pain, your guilt, your sister's memory. That's not a bad man, Jiwon. That's just a man who's been hurt. You should stay away from me. Probably. Maya smiled. But I'm tired of doing what I should. I'm tired of being safe and scared. I'm tired of running. Jiwon stared at her, something fierce and desperate in his eyes. After tomorrow, after we end this with Ethan, ask me again. Why? Because I won't let you make decisions about me while you're still in danger, while you're still vulnerable. When this is over, when you're truly free, then decide if you want a man like me in your life. It was the most respectful thing anyone had ever said to her. Maya leaned forward and kissed him softly. Just once. A promise. Not a seduction. Jiwon's hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. You're going to destroy me, Maya Harrison. Good, she whispered. You've been destroying yourself long enough. The next morning, they drove back to Seoul in silence. Maya wore jeans, a simple sweater, and the jacket with the tracking device. The panic button hung around her neck like a talisman. Jiwon sat rigid beside her, his phone constantly buzzing with updates. My team is in position, he said. Snipers on 3 rooftops. Tactical units in 2 adjacent buildings. Medical on standby. I've also contacted a journalist who specializes in exposing corruption. The moment we have Ethan's contractors on camera attempting an illegal extraction, it goes public. Along with every piece of dirt we've compiled on Ethan and his family. You've thought of everything. I have to. He looked at her. You ready? Maya took a deep breath. Thought about 8 months of fear. Thought about Jiwon's promise. Thought about finally being free. I'm ready. The warehouse was exactly as the photos had shown. Industrial, slightly run down, cameras hidden in the rafters. Jiwon walked her inside, his men positioned invisibly around the perimeter. 20 minutes, he said. They'll come. You stay calm. You refuse to leave. You hit the panic button if anything goes wrong. His hands framed her face. I'll be watching every second. You're not alone. I know. Maya. He stopped, struggling with words. After this, ask me again. Then he was gone, and Maya was alone in the warehouse, waiting for the devil she knew to send his soldiers. She didn't have to wait long. The 4 contractors entered at exactly 2:17 p.m. Maya stood in the center of the warehouse, forcing herself not to flinch as they approached. The leader, a broad-shouldered man with a military bearing, showed her a badge. Ms. Harrison, I'm Agent Morrison with the U.S. Embassy Security Detail. We need you to come with us. I'm not going anywhere, Maya said, proud that her voice stayed steady. Ma'am, we have reason to believe you're being held against your will by a criminal organization. For your safety, I'm not being held. I'm here voluntarily. Morrison's expression hardened. Mr. Miller has expressed serious concerns about your well-being. Your family is worried. We're authorized to extract you to embassy protection for your own safety. Ethan Miller is my abusive ex-fiancé who stalked me across continents. He doesn't get to decide what's safe for me. Ma'am, Morrison stepped closer. I'm going to need you to come with us, now. The other 3 men fanned out, cutting off escape routes. Maya's hand moved toward the panic button. If you touch me, you're assaulting an American citizen. I'm refusing your much protection. Leave. We have orders, Ms. Harrison. From who? Ethan's father, the federal judge. This isn't a lawful extraction. This is kidnapping. Morrison's pleasant facade cracked. He nodded to his men. They moved fast, 2 of them grabbing Maya's arms, another producing zip ties. Maya hit the panic button. Everything exploded into motion. The warehouse doors burst open. Jiwon's men flooded in from 3 directions, 20 men in black, moving with military precision. The contractors released Maya immediately, hands going to concealed weapons. Don't! Jiwon's voice echoed through the space. He descended from a second-floor catwalk, flanked by 2 guards, looking every inch the Mafia boss he was. You're surrounded, outgunned, and being recorded from 17 different angles. Morrison's jaw clenched. This is diplomatic business. You're interfering. You're not diplomats. You're private contractors hired by a stalker to kidnap his ex-fiancée. Jiwon moved to stand between the men and Maya, his presence like a wall. I know exactly who employs you, how much Ethan Miller paid you, and what you were planning to do with her once you got her off Korean soil. You have no authority here. I have all the authority I need. Jiwon smiled coldly. On this warehouse, this district, this entire section of Seoul, it's mine. You're criminals operating on my territory without permission. That makes you my problem to solve. One of the contractors reached for his gun. 3 red laser dots appeared on his chest. I wouldn't, Jiwon said conversationally. My snipers have orders to shoot anyone who threatens the woman under my protection. And unlike you, they don't miss. The standoff held for 3 seconds. 5, 10. Then Morrison lowered his hands slowly. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Jiwon pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and held it up. Recognize this. It's a live feed being sent to 3 major Korean news outlets and 1 very interested American journalist. The feed shows 4 armed men attempting to forcibly abduct an American woman who repeatedly refused their help. The feed is tagged with your names, your employer, and a very detailed file on Ethan Miller's history of stalking, assault, and abuse. Morrison's face went white. By tonight, Jiwon continued, Ethan Miller will be internationally famous, not as a victim of kidnapping, but as a dangerous predator whose federal judge father helped him stalk his ex-fiancée across the world. Every woman he's ever harassed will come forward. Every bribe his father ever took will be investigated. Every law he's broken will be exposed. You're bluffing. Am I? Jiwon's smile was razor sharp. Test me. Please. I would love nothing more than to make an example of what happens to men who think they can hunt women in my city. The silence was deafening. Finally, Morrison stepped back. Let's go, he told his men. Leave your weapons, Jiwon ordered. All of them, on the ground, now. The contractors hesitated, then complied. Guns, knives, zip ties, all clattered to the concrete floor. Tell Ethan Miller, Jiwon said as they backed toward the exit, that if he ever speaks Maya Harrison's name again, if he ever searches for her, if he even thinks about her, I will destroy him so completely that his family's wealth won't save him. Understand? Morrison nodded once. Then they were gone. Maya's legs gave out. Jiwon caught her before she hit the ground, pulling her against his chest. It's over. You're safe. It's over. She was shaking violently, adrenaline crash hitting like a tidal wave. They were going to take me. But they didn't. You're here. You're safe. I have you. His men discreetly cleared out, leaving them alone in the warehouse. Maya clung to Jiwon, breathing in his scent, cedar and smoke and something uniquely him. You saved me. You saved yourself. You stood your ground. You refused to be taken. His hand stroked her hair. You were incredible. I was terrified. That's what made it incredible. She pulled back to look at him. This dangerous man who'd risked everything to protect her. Jiwon. Don't. His voice was rough. Don't thank me. Don't. I love you. The words hung in the air between them, impossible and true. Jiwon stared at her, something breaking open in his expression. Maya, you can't. I can. I do. She cupped his face, feeling the tension in his jaw. I know it's insane. I know it's been 3 days. I know you're a criminal and I'm a mess and nothing about this makes sense. But I love you. And I need you to know that before I walk away. Who said you're walking away? You did. 3 days. That was the deal. Fuck the deal. Jiwon's hands tightened on her waist. I was giving you an out, a chance to leave me before you got too tangled up in my world. But if you're standing here telling me you love me, his voice broke. Maya, I can't lose someone else. I can't watch someone I care about get hurt because of me. Then don't lose me. Keep me. She smiled through tears. Keep me safe. Keep me close. Keep me in your life. You don't know what you're asking. I know exactly what I'm asking. Maya pressed her forehead to his. I'm asking for the man who makes soup and shares his sister's memory and stays up all night protecting strangers. I'm asking for someone who sees me as more than a possession. I'm asking for you, Jiwon. Just you. I'm not good enough for you. Let me decide that. Jiwon closed his eyes, breathing hard. When he opened them again, they were wet. I love you too. God help me. I fell in love with you the moment I saw you drop that champagne glass. Terrified and brave and so goddamn beautiful. Then keep me. Always. He kissed her then, deep and desperate and full of promises neither of them could quite believe. I'll keep you always. Outside the warehouse, Seoul continued its chaotic rhythm. But inside, wrapped in each other's arms, Maya and Jiwon found something neither had expected. Home. 3 days, Maya whispered against his lips. Forever, Jiwon corrected. I'm keeping you forever. And for the first time in years, Maya believed in forever. E-adventure going by clicking on the suggested video on your screen. 4 years later. The cafe was called Suyon's, and it was everything Maya had dreamed of and more. Exposed brick walls displayed rotating exhibitions from local artists, paintings, photographs, small sculptures that changed with each season. Mismatched vintage furniture invited customers to linger for hours, each piece carefully selected from antique markets across Seoul. The air was perpetually filled with the rich aroma of fresh roasted coffee beans and homemade pastries that Maya had perfected through years of early morning experimentation. Morning light streamed through large windows overlooking a quiet, tree-lined street in Seongsu-dong, the neighborhood that had transformed from industrial area to trendy cultural hub in the years since Maya had opened her doors. Maya wiped down the gleaming espresso machine, her movements practiced and confident. She glanced at the line of customers wrapped around the block and felt a surge of pride that never quite faded, no matter how routine these busy mornings had become. 4 years ago, she'd stood in a warehouse terrified and broken, convinced she'd never truly be free from the shadow of her past. Now she owned Seoul's most beloved neighborhood cafe, had appeared in food magazines and travel blogs, had a waiting list for her weekend brunch service, had trained 3 baristas who'd gone on to open their own shops across the city, had a home filled with laughter instead of fear, had a life she'd built with her own hands and fierce determination, had a husband who still made her soup when she worked too late, who still looked at her like she was the most precious thing in his dangerous world. The bell above the door chimed, its cheerful sound cutting through the ambient cafe noise. Maya looked up from the espresso machine to see Jiwon entering with their daughter balanced expertly on his hip. 3-year-old Mina had inherited his dark hair and her mother's striking blue eyes, creating a combination that turned heads wherever they went. She also possessed an absolute gift for wrapping her intimidating father around her tiny finger, a fact that amused everyone in Jiwon's organization to no end. "Mommy!" Mina squealed, bouncing excitedly in Jiwon's arms. "We brought lunch! Daddy said you forgot to eat again." "I see that, baby." Maya came around the counter, dodging customers with apologetic smiles, to kiss her daughter's soft cheek and then her husband's lips. A brief, familiar touch that still sent warmth through her chest. "You really didn't have to come all the way here. I was going to grab something between shifts." "You texted that exact lie yesterday," Jiwon said dryly, setting down an insulated bag that probably contained enough food for 3 people. "And the day before, someone has to keep you functional, or you'll survive on espresso and stress alone. I was busy. We're testing the new autumn menu and Jennifer called in sick, so I've been covering her station plus mine. You're always busy." But his tone was fond, affectionate in the way that only came after years of knowing someone's rhythms and patterns. He set Mina down carefully, and she immediately ran to the display counter to inspect the pastries with the serious focus only a toddler could muster. Maya leaned against Jiwon, allowing herself to enjoy the moment, the warmth of his presence, the sound of her daughter's delighted gasps at each new pastry, the comfortable hum of her cafe filled with satisfied customers. "How was the meeting?" she asked quietly. "Productive. The new community center in Gangnam is almost finished. Construction ahead of schedule, actually. We should be able to open by early December, just in time for winter programs." Jiwon's hand found the small of her back, a possessive but gentle touch. "The youth education wing is fully funded for the next 3 years." 4 years ago, Jiwon had made a decision that shocked everyone in his organization. Use their considerable power and resources for something better. Something meaningful. He still controlled territories across Seoul, still operated in the gray spaces between legal and illegal, navigating the complex web of South Korean politics and underworld dynamics, still commanded respect and fear in equal measure from those who knew his name. But now the money-funded community centers that offered safe spaces for at-risk youth, domestic violence shelters that operated with state-of-the-art security and counseling services, scholarship programs for students from disadvantaged backgrounds, legal aid clinics in neighborhoods where people couldn't afford lawyers. He'd transformed from a mafia boss consumed by guilt and violence into something closer to a vigilante benefactor, dangerous when necessary, ruthlessly protective of the innocent, and determined to create the kind of safety net that might have saved his sister. "Your father called while you were gone," Maya said, pulling Jiwon back to the present. "He wants to know if we're coming to Connecticut for Thanksgiving this year. My mom's already planning the menu." Jiwon groaned dramatically. "Can we skip it? Claim international emergency? Sudden plague outbreak? Absolutely not. Maya poked his chest playfully. Your parents haven't seen Mina in 3 months because of your busy schedule. And my mother will literally never forgive us if we miss another major holiday. She's already convinced I married into a cult. Your mother still doesn't approve of me. Ji-won's tone was resigned but amused. My mother thinks you're a dangerous criminal who seduced her innocent daughter and dragged her into a life of international intrigue. Technically accurate on at least 2 of those points. Technically, I seduced you in a warehouse while you were trying to save me from mercenaries. Ji-won's lips curved into that rare, genuine smile that transformed his entire face from intimidating to devastating. Also accurate, you were very forward for someone who just survived an extraction attempt. I was high on adrenaline and poor decision-making. Best poor decision I ever witnessed. Mina returned from her pastry inspection carrying a chocolate croissant nearly as large as her head, her expression deadly serious. Daddy, can I have this, please? I'll be very good. Ji-won crouched to her level with the patience of a man who'd negotiated with actual crime lords, but found his daughter infinitely more challenging. 1 bite now, then you eat the vegetables Mommy packed, then you can finish the croissant. Deal. 2 bites. You're negotiating with me. Ji-won tried to sound stern but failed completely. I learned from the best, Mina said solemnly, in a pitch-perfect imitation of something she'd clearly overheard. Maya bit back a laugh as Ji-won shot her a look that promised playful retribution later. Fine, 2 bites. But then, vegetables, no arguments. Deal! Mina threw her tiny arms around his neck, and Maya watched her dangerous Mafia boss husband melt completely. She felt overwhelming gratitude wash over her. For this impossible life they'd built together. For the family she'd never imagined having. For the safety and love and belonging she'd found in the most unexpected place. Later that evening, after the cafe closed and Mina was tucked into bed with her favorite stuffed rabbit, Maya and Ji-won sat on the balcony of their penthouse, the same space she'd first entered 4 years ago, terrified and desperate, wearing borrowed clothes and carrying borrowed courage. The city glittered below them, Seoul's endless energy pulsing through the night. I got another email from Ethan's lawyer today, Maya said quietly, breaking the comfortable silence. Ji-won's expression darkened immediately, his body tensing. What does he want now? I thought we were done with that situation. We are. It's actually good news. Closure, really. She handed him her phone, watching his face as he read. Ethan finally pled guilty to felony stalking charges in California. 3 years probation, mandatory psychiatric counseling, permanent restraining order against contacting me or any of his previous partners. His father was disbarred for corruption and obstruction of justice. The whole family essentially fell apart after everything was exposed. Good. Ji-won's voice was cold, lacking any sympathy. He deserved far worse than probation and counseling. He deserved everything that happened to him and more. Maybe, probably. Maya took the phone back, staring at the email. But it's over. Ji-won. Really, truly over. He can't hurt me anymore. Can't find me. Can't control any aspect of my life. I'm free. Completely free. Ji-won pulled her against his chest, arms wrapping around her with the same protective intensity he'd shown since that first night at the gala. As if he still feared someone might try to take her away, even after 4 years of safety and stability. You've been free for 4 years, Sarang, he murmured into her hair. I know, but this. She gestured at the email, at the legal closure it represented. This is different. This is proof that standing up to him was worth it, that all the fear and danger and risk led to something real. He's paying consequences. And I'm here, living the life I always wanted. You were always worth the risk, worth the danger, worth absolutely everything I did and would do again. Ji-won kissed the top of her head, his voice rough with emotion. I'd do it all again without hesitation. They sat in comfortable silence, the kind that only came after years of sharing space and breath and life. Maya traced patterns on Ji-won's arm, counting the small scars she'd memorized, each one representing a story he'd eventually shared. Do you ever regret it? Maya asked suddenly. Saving the terrified blonde at the gala? Turning your entire life upside down for a complete stranger? Taking on international contractors and federal judges and diplomatic nightmares? Every single day, Ji-won said seriously. Maya pulled back to look at him, genuine hurt flickering across her face. What? Then she saw the teasing glint in his dark eyes. I regret that I didn't meet you sooner, he continued softly. That I wasted so many years being alone, drowning in guilt, living half a life. I regret that Suyeon never got to meet you. She would have absolutely loved you, would have claimed you as her sister immediately and probably conspired with you against me. His hand cupped Maya's face with infinite tenderness. But regret saving you? Regret choosing you? Never. Not for a single moment. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, Maya Kang. Even better than your illegal territory acquisitions, Maya asked, eyes shining with unshed happy tears. Significantly better. Better than your collection of vintage sports cars? Don't push your luck, Maya laughed, the sound free and bright and unrestrained. 4 years ago, she'd forgotten how to laugh without fear. Now it came easily, naturally, constantly. Joy had become her default instead of terror. I love you, Kang Ji-won, she said, meaning it with every atom of her being. My dangerous, protective, suit-making mafia boss husband who cries at children's movies and spoils our daughter shamelessly. I love you, Maya Kang, he replied, his voice carrying the weight of a vow. My brave, stubborn, cafe-owning wife who works too hard and still doesn't understand that security cameras are meant to be monitored, not ignored. I understand them perfectly. I just choose to prioritize trust over surveillance. That's exactly my point. You're going to give me gray hair. You'll look distinguished. They kissed under Seoul's glittering night sky. And Maya thought about the terrified woman in a red satin dress who'd taken an insane chance on a dangerous stranger's protection, who'd agreed to play the role of a mafia boss's wife to escape her nightmare, who'd stood as deliberate bait in a warehouse, trusting that she wouldn't be abandoned, who'd chosen love over fear when every instinct screamed to run, who'd built a thriving business and a beautiful family from the ashes of her old life. And she thought about faith. Not necessarily religious faith, though she'd found some of that too, but faith in human goodness, faith in second chances and redemption, faith that even broken people could find healing when they stopped running from each other. Thank you, Maya whispered against Ji-won's lips, for saving me, for giving me the chance to save myself. You did the hard work, Ji-won corrected gently. I just made sure you had the space and safety to become who you were always meant to be. Then thank you for the space, for the safety, for believing I was worth saving. Always, my love, always and forever. Inside their home, Mina dreamed of chocolate croissants and playground adventures, and the puppy she'd been campaigning for with impressive strategic planning. In the cafe below, the autumn menu waited for tomorrow's eager customers. Across the city, the community center bearing Suyeon's name offered safety and opportunity to hundreds of young people who needed it. And on the balcony, wrapped in each other's arms, a reformed mafia boss and his rescued wife held each other tight, grateful beyond words for the impossible, beautiful story that had brought them together. Maya had fled to Seoul dreaming only of safety, of distance from her nightmare, of maybe, someday, opening a small cafe. She'd gotten all of that and infinitely more. She'd gotten home. Real home. The kind built not from bricks but from trust and love and choosing each other every single day. She'd gotten her miracle. If you made it to the end of this story, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. And click the yellow bell to subscribe to the channel and support us. Keep the adventure going by clicking on the suggested video on your screen.